for part two.
More question for you. How have you been handling or managing your grief?
Well, initially, I decided to get some counseling, and
Yes.
go for our family to go through grief counseling because the kids were just so young,
Yeah.
um, that I needed them to be able to tell me what they thought. And to be honest, it was probably when they turned about 8 that they were really honest, about how they felt. And it wasn't great.
Yeah.
I've continued to just continue to go through therapy and myself personally, and just make sure that they had people and role models like family members, the male role models that we have in our lives and
Yeah.
things like that. When they went to school, they knew that, Leo had passed, at that time. So at those key times, those dates, of knowing, they know right around Valentine's Day, that we both did dates, and
Hmm.
so Leo took Orlando to see a movie. I went with Olivia to see a movie.
Okay.
So they know in February that that's like around the time that he died because they were really young. Something else that I do is I try not to remind them of the key dates. But I do make sure that, I've always tried to make sure as they've grown up that people who can support them in school and stuff like that are aware
Hmm.
that they may feel some kind of way pretty early on.
Okay.
But, with all the memories and stuff like that, that's the thing that we do the most is, share memories and the pictures where, he was asleep and they got a hold of some powder. They couldn't even walk, and they got a hold of baby powder by the bed when he was taking a nap, and they just covered him with, I mean, from head to belly,
Hmm.
just tumbling around the bed, and he was asleep, and it's the best picture ever. And so I go and find things like that, and I do slideshows,
Hmm.
seasonal stuff to where like Halloween's coming up, so they'll be able to see some of their first words, even just not even being able to enunciate,
Yeah.
hondo, they weren't doing, consonants and stuff like that. And so it's just about keeping his memory alive, getting the help definitely for me to continue to strive after, racing them over the last 8 years,
Yeah.
just on my own. Um, and just allowing them opportunities to be able to, they talk to me whenever they feel like they need to, but they're also, they have relationships with their dad's family. Their grandma is still alive. They
Okay.
still have aunts and uncles. um, we got a big trip planned to go back to Texas,
Hmm.
at Thanksgiving time. And so just making sure that the culture stays alive, making homemade tortillas, I'm like, well,
Oh,
just whatever
yes.
it is, from both sides of the fence. So they
Yeah.
have things all the time to relate to their dad, and then to, both sides of the family. But
Yeah.
definitely lots of memories and lots of, I mean, and I'm like Irene. So I was a theater, and a communications multimedia person. So
Hmm.
I knew to capture those moments
Yeah.
as the years went, because I knew early on we didn't have twins until we were 4 years married. We were just the two of us,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I knew to keep, you know, all of those memories for them so that they would be able to grasp onto it. For me personally,
Hmm.
I haven't done great. I could say that, you say you deal with grief good, and then you can deal with it in not so good ways.
Yeah.
And I did not do the best over, at times,
Hmm.
I
to
just don't think it's a right or a wrong way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
mean, I can say that, but I can just say it was challenging at times.
Hmm.
And whenever they do something new, you know, that's when I deal with the hardest, you know, the start of school or big accomplishments, you know, big things, you know, going from even just this year, you know, they're in 8th grade and then they'll be freshmen in high school. Like it just takes little small things to kind of help, you know, to kind of make me feel not so great.
Like
and
a
I
trigger.
miss
It's
them
a trigger.
tremendously.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I do counseling, you know, I do therapy and I go to counseling and, you know, like I said, just my own spiritual, you know, life and, you know, and beliefs and having, you know, good people around us. You know, we have a really good support system. I can't complain about that. You know, where we are now at Bethel College was where God designed for us to be. And so this is where I discovered myself because I'm an alumni of Bethel College and I'm in a position to rediscover the things that I'm passionate about and look at, you know, my old little, you know, stomping grounds and the memories, and, you know, the relationships. So, but the stages of grief, you know, they are, you know, we can get stuck in one and I stayed with depression. And so when I say I didn't deal with it the best way, that's an area where I just kind of stayed there. Acceptance, eventually, you know, feeling like, you know, okay, I might want to go to the movies with somebody or have a companion, but it took a lot of years, you know, to get to that place, you know, after, you know, not having him here and stuff. So, but that's kind of, you know, what I've done, you know, outside of just honestly with my family, they have been a really big support system after losing my mom. But it was like after losing her that it's like, okay, now I can relate. And this must be really hard, you know, hard for you. And that gave me a lot of relief, you know, to.
Oh yeah. I just think about like you triggered something when you said, you know, it's just how God just does things well, like how you're back at Bethel and just thinking about like our friendships, like the peaks and the valleys and, you know, the ebbs and the flows and just thinking about your happiest, outside of your marriage to Leo, but just us, you know, growing up and learning who you were when you were at Bethel. You know, you were singing, you were in plays, you were, you know, you were like, you were everything, like Queen of Bethel, right? Everybody loved you and you were at your best. And just thinking how you went through so much, you know, in your life and how God brought you back to that place, you know, of where you had the most peace and where you thrived. And when you said, I was like, that's right. You know, and I just think that you're able to, you know, like the healing, you're able to heal a little bit more. You have, like you said, a good support system. And you're, you know, you're starting to be in a good place. And, you know, we haven't said it yet, but you know, our relationship with God has really helped us get through grief, knowing where our loved ones went. Because when we have people that die in Christ, the grief is there, but the peace of knowing, like, I'm going to see them again. And you know where they are. It doesn't make the grief easier, but it makes it a little bit easier. You know, I was grieving, you know, I grieved over my grandparents and I grieved over my dad, but, you know, they came to me in dreams. You know, my grandfather comes to me periodically and lets me know everything's going to be okay. Or I can have a dream and he's just sitting there. And I'm like, and I know like, he's my guardian angel, like he's watching me. So I think like, those things are comforting, like they help you get through like when you're having a bad time. Like I know Leo is watching over your children and watching, you know, over you. And I think it just gives you, you know, a little bit of peace of mind, like when you're feeling down.
Absolutely.
Have you ever heard of the penny from heaven?
I have.
Okay, so that's our thing with Leo. is whenever we're doing something really major or something that he's really proud of. And I could even say this weekend, I hung my laundry up. Like my room was like sparkling clean. And then I looked outside my closet and there was just a penny there. And that's him saying, hey, you did good. Because he was really good. He preferred to do the laundry, and I wasn't used to that, but he was just that kind of guy. He shopped for all my clothes. So I'm not a shopper, you know that, Irene. And so my perfumes, my clothes, all those things. And then when the kids do something major, there's a penny somewhere. And so we always find those pennies and then we put them, Olivia has her own container that she puts them in because it's a penny from heaven. That's daddy saying, good job. And Orlando finds his pennies. When there's a penny, then that means daddy is looking. And we have so many pennies. They'll probably be able to go to Disney World or something. Ain't no telling. But that's what we've done over the last, 8 years or so. It's just finding those things that really give you meaning and making a meaning out of the loss is important.
Absolutely.
That's good. And it's funny, we all have like our own journeys. We've all dealt with death so different, but yet the same, the impact. Like we listen to, Chywonna's the oldest, but planning her father's funeral was very easy. They just had to just execute his plans. Mine, not so much. I had to take a large leadership role in really all of the major deaths I've had to step up. And then Chywonna, we know that you're the knee baby, child number 9. And so a lot of times that looked a little different for you because you have so many, so many siblings. But, like you said in the beginning, Chywonna, it's so much easier when you have your siblings and people that can go through it with you, not only your siblings, but your friends. Like this is what our whole podcast is about, just bringing it back to why friendships and relationships are so important, because both of you guys have been with me through death. I've been with both of you guys through death, and we still are going through, just the grieving process. And it's, I can call either one of you and say, hey, I'm not having a good day. Or you guys can call me and say, hey, you know what? I'm not having a good day. And we're able to sympathize and empathize with each other. And that's what makes friendships amazing. Like, it's just a valuable relationship that I wish everybody could experience, the level of friendships and connections that I have. With both of you. And so, Chywonna, we cannot wrap our podcast up. We cannot let you leave without asking our 2 signature questions. Ask all of our guests. So we're going to ask you the same. So I'll ask the first one. Chywonna, you can ask the second one as you conclude the show. So I'm going to ask the hard one. So what is your red flag? Your red flag when it comes to friendships? What is your red flag?
Irene, you should have sent this to me earlier today because it takes me a while to process things. I'll be answering you tomorrow morning about something.
No, you know what is a red? I kind of know your answer, but what's
a red flag for friendships? Is one thing that I really value, and I always tell my kids, because they aspire to have, to accumulate friends. They like to say everybody's a friend. And everybody is not your friend.
Right.
They're acquaintances. And so I always say, I can count my friends on one hand. And so that's something that I say is I can count them on one hand. And the other thing that I really look for is that there cannot be a limit on the amount of time or how frequent we talk, because life is busy. And if you really have a true friend who knows you, they don't need to have no problems with the fact that they ain't heard from you in a month. There's no time limit on it. You just pick up where you left off. And you have that love and that caring and that engagement with them as if you just talked yesterday or 30 minutes ago.
Right.
You know, so a red flag is people who have hard feelings
Hard feelings.
about communicating on a
I got
frequent
you.
basis.
I
Because
look.
I don't have time for that. I mean, I already have
You have
8 sisters.
twins,
So
preteen
Mhm.
twins.
Irene, 8 sisters. When we
Yeah.
met, when we were 13, what did I tell you? I actually said, I'm not looking for no new friends. And I always say that because I have 8 sisters. Do you know
Yeah,
how
no.
complicated that is? Because I love all of them. And I can spend my whole week and night and a couple of weeks just having conversations with them.
Yeah.
You know, and so my family is so large that, and we were taught to be there for each other. And
Yeah.
so
You guys are very close too.
I don't
Yeah.
have any time, you know, to do a whole bunch of, you know, making sure you're okay so that I'm okay.
Right.
Yeah, let's just do this when we do it. And when
Yeah.
we need each other, we can say, hey, I need you. I could tell Irene,
Yeah.
you know, is this a good time? And I may not even have to tell her that. She's very busy, but if I call her, she's going to answer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And if
Yeah.
she's not going to answer, she will call me back.
Right.
And I know that. So no time constraints or, you know, frequency is one red flag for me personally. The other one is just keeping confidence.
Absolutely.
You got to tell everybody everything, you
Yeah.
know, that you're sharing. So you got to make sure that they can keep the confidence.
Yeah. So a friend that talks too much is a red flag. Or a person that talks too much.
You don't have to tell what I'm telling you.
Exactly.
Because I'm talking to you. If I wanted other people to know, I would go on Facebook and social media and post it, right?
Right. Exactly.
There's ways to tell everybody your business, but
Right.
there's only, you know, a true friend to me is one that will keep that stuff really close, because sometimes, you know, that information is not good in other people's hands. And you just don't need that. So I my circle is very tight. It's very close. It's very conservative. And like I said, I can count on one hand who I'm going to call if I'm needing to talk about something that's very sensitive or anything that I am dealing with. I won't even talk to coworker. Like that's, you know, like, no.
Yeah.
People I work with, you know, I mean, you know, you just can't do that. So
no, that's no.
my circle is, you know, is the way that it is, but a red flag definitely would be somebody who can't keep the confidence
That's good.
of what we're talking
That is
about.
good.
That's good. So I'm gonna flip it on you. So that was your red flags. So what are some green flags or green indicators to let you know that, yep, she or he is the one to keep close?
Shoot. Well, I haven't made any new friends. So I would think, you know, my biggest value is somebody who, and I'm not saying this to you, Karan, because we can, you know, we can actually, because you're connected to Irene, we can connect, but she wouldn't be happy about that.
Yes,
on a regular basis. Okay, so I have one sister, Trina, who has friends, and my family likes my friends.
Yeah.
They're like, you have really good friends, you know, and so
her sisters have always treated me like a sister.
Yeah.
A green flag for me is that you are willing to get to know me. Like, and that you know me. So for me, a green flag actually, honestly, is a history. So I value people who've known me and that know me, or are willing to or open to getting to know me without me having to be different or change who I truly am. So I have to be comfortable with you to be in my environment. You know, if you come in my house and you eat my food and you get to meet my kids and stuff like that, that means I'm comfortable with you being in my environment. So if I said, come to my house to eat, then that is like golden.
Okay.
because I trust you enough to be in my world. And so
Okay.
a green flag would be somebody who I feel like I can trust. And I like I said, I don't even know that I have any new friends. It's been years because I never really looked for new friends. I mean, I have I have the people that I have, and I'm okay with that at 50 years old. So, but I mean, other than that, it would just probably be just having something in common with them,
Yeah.
to be able to relate to them, and that
And to
would
take
probably.
you as you are or have nothing at all, as Mary J. Blige says.
Yeah, I need that, and I don't run across it very often, but I also don't seek it, and so
Yeah.
that's something that I probably need to work on. But I don't really look for that. I just go with what I got.
Yeah. I mean, and that's fine. You say you got you got your five, your fave five
One
or
hand.
your fave four,
It
however
ain't even
many
five
friends.
of them.
Yeah.
Just right here.
Yeah. I always say, as if you got one somebody, you good. Look, you got five, you real good.
You real good. You blessed.
I got 9 siblings, and
Yeah.
then I can count on one hand the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you. That's good. That's good.
So yeah, we gotta shout out your sister. So we want them to watch and shout them out. Like I said,
they all enjoy these podcasts. I don't know who exactly watches them, but I mean, it's available everywhere. So I watch it at work. Whenever you say it's live. I have my
we thank you, girl.
My kids say, "Mom, you got your I got my beats in my ear." And I'm listening to the bestie advice.
Yes. Thank you. So again, besties out there, we want to thank you all as far as for joining us for our episode on today about managing and handling grief. And I do just want to add on, it's a cliche out there that says time will heal. When it comes to dealing with the grief, I don't think that that's a real thing. I just believe that your healing will just be your healing. It's not a certain time frame. It's not get over in a year, get over in 2 years. Take as long as you take, just as long as you are managing it well. And yes, there will always be triggers. You can be watching TV, and something to trigger you. It could be a conversation. It could be the person's birthday that comes around, holidays, as Chywonna has actually shared with us. So it can be anything. But I would say cry. If you have to cry, cry. If you got to call somebody, do whatever it is. You have to seek counseling. Yes, we have God in our lives, but God also created counselors and therapists. So if you have to reach out and go and get another level of input and another level of people that's going to actually help you to get through that particular time in your life, do what you have to do. Do what you have to do. Manage it well, and always have someone there with you, whether it's a sibling or a friend or your pastor or your first lady or co-worker, whoever you have connected with that you trust. And as Chywonna has said, is going to keep your business, then I would say go ahead and actually reach out to them and have some real conversations. So Chywonna, is it anything, that you just want to share as far as or any tips you want to share as far as with our audience?
Is an amen, first lady, and a first lady, amen. So you finished it because I mean, crying is something that I don't do a lot because I don't want the kids to see me do it. But it is so cleansing and it is so helpful, and it's important, and just taking care of yourself. I can schedule massages. I do all kinds of things around those key dates. That key time, I'll get these nails done, my feet done, and I'll be in their business crying. They don't even know why, but I got to take care of myself. And so, I mean, it's important to do a lot of self-care. And if you work, this is something that I did realize is if you work and it becomes an issue, like with your job, there's a lot that you can do to be able to have the time that you need to grieve properly for jobs. And so
Yeah.
don't be hesitant to go to your human resources professionals, because I've had to, I mean, I was the one who worked in my family. So to lose my husband and not, and figure out how to take care of the kids, it was really challenged to try to find that balance and figure out, how am I there for them and how am I here for me? And so there's lots of opportunities to reach out to resources within your workplace. If you're dealing with something like that and you're having difficulty, use your therapy, use your counselor. And there's lots of things that you can do formally to have time that you need, if you need that to grieve properly. Absolutely. And to, even if you're dealing with a difficulty or illness like I did, I had a lot of things in place for me to allow me to be able to be there with my husband instead of having to go to work and know that he was in the hospital and by himself and, just stuff like that, it's just, there's so many levels to it. Reach out, get the resources, and find ways to be able to take care of yourself, because there's a lot out there that will protect you from, losing your job or and things like that. But you have to talk and you have to know your rights and what you're able to do. And that's the only thing I think that I probably made a note of, is that in a workplace, when you grieve in a workplace and you're working, and even if you happen to be a breadwinner, or the person that's working for the family on the behalf of the family, you have rights. You definitely have rights, and there's help out there, for you to do what you need to do. So I think that's probably one of the most challenging things that I probably dealt with Leo. And then everything else was easier because, like you guys shared, my mom had plans, my dad had plans, my aunt had plans. So it was just easier. Yeah. And just being good to the people that you love, while they're here.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Flowers.
Yes, and time waits for no one. So I'm in agreement with Chywonna, make sure that you do what you have to do to spend time with your family, whether you are stopping by to visit them, calling them, texting them, reach out to your family just to tell them that you love them. And I've even gotten into this habit where it's like, even with talking to Irene, we'll be on the phone, and at the end I'm like, love you, girl. So on the phone with my mom, love you, my sister, love you. Like at the end of every conversation, I'm making that, known or whatever, that I love y'all, whatever. If this may be our last time, know that I love you.
This guy, my dad would get phone calls because he would be hanging up, from talking to me. And I would call him back and tell him, I said, I love you. And then he would just hang up abruptly. Wonderful Southern gentleman, the best of the best. And I would call him back. And I was the only one out of 10 kids who would challenge him to say, I love you too.
Yeah.
And they were like, you're just so spoiled and rotten. And I said, hey, I need him to tell me that. And I need him to say it back to me. And you can't hang up without telling me that. Yeah. So I was always the one. And, even though he's a more recent loss, I loved him and I loved him well. And he loved me back. And he accepted me for what I needed from him. And even though, it could get rough a little bit because you got to give a lot of respect to your elders, I still told him what I wanted and what I needed from him as my dad. And I can't say grief is easier, but I have definitely learned as time has went about how to treat people that I love and to tell them that I love them and to do the best that I can, no matter what, every day to the fullest, just live it and enjoy them. And I can't make all those phone calls every day, so we can't be conditional, right? That's the red flag.
No, you can't do it.
Right.
But in that moment, you really value that time with them whenever you get to spend it. And then you kind of go, you just kind of go from there.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, we thank you all for joining us. And we thank our special guest, Chywonna Gonzalez, for joining us as well. To each of you, we love you all. We hope that you all have found this episode very informative and you actually have gotten some tips on how to manage your grief as well. Until our next episode, besties, we love you all and we thank you so much for joining us. Bye,
Yes.
besties.
Bye. See you next time. Thanks for joining us today. See you next time.